I am Ross Hawkins. I'm the director of the Academic Advising and Transfer Center, and today's advisor forum, Avoiding Compassion Fatigue and Practicing Self-Care and Well-Being. I am very pleased to welcome Dr. Doug Greiner from the Counseling Center to be joining us and presenting on this topic. Doug, there have been, each semester I solicit ideas for future advisor forums, and when I sent that out last semester, there were numerous people who submitted on a topic of advisor well-being, because it's just been a heavy time for all of us, but a lot of things going on with our students that we work with, that we advise, and so I think this advisor forum is absolutely necessary. So again, welcome everyone. Please remember to enter your name and department in the chat feature for Master Advisor Credit. And Doug, I am going to turn it over to you.
Great. Thank you, Ross. I appreciate that kind introduction. It's great seeing several names popping up here, people I have met over the years. Some people I don't necessarily know at this point, must be some new people. And I'm just gonna have to call out Mary Jane. It looks like you're zooming in from Hawaii, I think. It looks like you have a great background. So anyway, I'm assuming, can you all hear me? Okay. I'm getting something that says unmute myself to start speaking, so I want to be sure of that. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and first of all, just make a brief, I guess, disclaimer. I told Ross, and a few of you might have been in earlier, I'm fighting off a cold right now. I'm kind of at the end of it, but every so often I have to start coughing. So if that happens, I apologize. I'll try to mute myself and be right back with you. So I'm going to go ahead and get to the presentation here. It's going to take me just a moment. Okay. Hopefully, this is going to work. So, all right. I'm going to pick on you, Mary Jane, again. Can you see the presentation? Okay. I want to be sure I'm doing this right. I haven't done this like this before with a PowerPoint. So if there's any problems, please, someone let me know. Again, I appreciate you all being here. We're going to talk a little bit about avoiding compassion fatigue and practicing self-care and well-being. Again, this is a topic that I think a lot of people are dealing with, just feeling the strain and the wear of caring and trying to help people. So maybe there'll be some bits of information in here that will be helpful for everyone. So I always like to kind of point out, maybe some goals and objectives that we have here. Really have four things I hope you can all walk away with. First of all, being able to define what is compassion fatigue. What does that mean? Learn the causes and the impact of compassion fatigue. What can cause someone to feel that, and what is the impact on a person's life if they're dealing with compassion fatigue? Identify some of those red flags. What are the things maybe a person actually experiences, so that they know what their red flags are, what are their warning signs. And then, of course, to learn some strategies to practice self-care and improve well-being. So I always think it's good to be able to define something and know what the warning signs are, but what do you do to take care of yourself? I really want to stress this here. If there are questions, please ask them as we go. I'll definitely have some time at the end. Using the chat feature might work a little better in this. Not sure. I assume I will see it if someone types a question in. If not, feel free to turn on the microphone and ask. But I want to be sure that your questions are answered too. I want this to be valuable for all of you. So, what is compassion fatigue? Well, Compassion fatigue is a condition that's characterized by emotional and physical exhaustion, just feeling wiped out emotionally, physically, maybe even mentally, that leads to diminished ability to empathize or feel compassion for others. Just feeling so drained that you don't necessarily feel the compassion for others. Um, I've often heard it described as the negative cost of caring. Um, I think compassion fatigue is usually used in the helping professions, is where I hear it used a lot, where people really work to help other people. I think the best example right now might be the medical profession. Individuals who are doctors, nurses, people who work in hospitals. The past 18 some months have been exhausting and draining. And I think we've seen some people who've just said, I can't do it anymore, and have left their job. I admire people who are there, who are continuing to give and care, but it is also very exhausting, just that constant caring for others, maybe at the expense of not caring for themselves. Something I hear a lot of people say is, well, it's the same as feeling burned out. Well, compassion fatigue is a little bit different in that it's a term that describes the impact of helping others. Burnout is more of a term that describes the impact of a stressful workplace. Now, they both can look very similar, the two may even overlap, but there's a little bit of a difference there that I think is important to be aware of. But some of the information we're going to talk about today could be really helpful, whether it be compassion fatigue or burnout. But there's a little bit of a difference there that I really wanted to point out. So the importance of self-care. Well, I want to look at this from reacting to stress in your life, to things that are going on, versus trying to be a little bit more proactive to try to intervene before. So a person has a lot of stress going on in their life, and let's say they sacrifice, they give, and whether you're a faculty member, a staff member, you're a master advisor, you're really trying to be there and help the students, really help them do their best. And again, that's appreciated. But I think a person, if they give and give and give, but don't take care of themselves, they run the risk of feeling that fatigue, that it's hard to care anymore, that the person just doesn't have the compassion for what the person they're helping is feeling. Maybe they are feeling burned out, the stress of the job, and it has been a really stressful roughly 2 years, and ultimately dissatisfaction, maybe with the job, the profession, but that leads to unfortunately, some real negative stuff. The other way it can go is that someone, is dealing with a lot of stress. It's important to practice good self-care, to take care of yourself as best you can. And ultimately, if someone's trying to take care of themselves, hopefully they're going to feel a little bit more satisfaction with their life, maybe within their job. They're going to feel more resilient, that they can bounce back. That doesn't mean that the day will not be stressful. That doesn't mean that there's going to be moments that you're going to feel overwhelmed. That's part of our jobs here. But I think doing some self-care in there somewhere can really make a difference. In fact, quite a bit of difference. So I had to put this real simple in easy words. Compassion fatigue is meeting others' needs, but neglecting our own. So again, that caring for others, really working for others, but doing it to the point of neglecting our own needs, our own well-being. So red flags and warning signs. Here's a list of them, and I'm going to kind of talk about some of them. And again, these can show up with compassion fatigue and some with burnout as well. The loss of pleasure or enjoyment at work and in our own personal life. The person who, work used to be, maybe they'd say it used to be fun to go to work. It used to be exciting to go to work. And they find that maybe there's not the excitement there. I had a former faculty person years ago tell me he knew it was time for him to retire. He had hit retirement and he knew it was time when he said, I sat in my car and played on my phone, listened to the radio until I absolutely had to go in. I thought, okay, this person has lost enjoyment with work. That can come out at home too, that maybe a person comes home and is so drained that they just don't have the energy when they get home to interact with others there. Feeling depressed, a sense of depression, problems concentrating. Again, I think anyone who's ever been overwhelmed can relate to that one. You know, you um, I'll say mine. You know, if I have problems concentrating, I go to do something, I can't even remember what I was doing. Now, some of that is age, I'll admit. I think that's a part of it, but problems concentrating, maybe something that used to be a pretty straightforward task, just find that I've put a lot more energy into it. A sense of anxiety or worry that's constantly there. Increased mistakes or errors is a real red flag. Things that normally a person might catch, but they're finding that they're just missing those. A loss of objectivity, that inability to step back and see it from a little bit more objective perspective. Um, that's a hard thing to do. And when someone's feeling overwhelmed and that real sense of compassion fatigue, um, they almost feel like they're in it with the person. And it's hard to be objective. And then the person can also feel alone and isolated, that it's hard to explain this. Others around them may really be enjoying their job. They have compassion for their clients, but or their students, and they're feeling really alone and isolated. Emotional reactivity, I think, is a really, really big red flag. This is the person who reacts emotionally when something goes on. A person who maybe gets upset easily, has a short fuse, finds themselves really irritable. Little things will set them off. There's almost an intense and what might have been a normal a reaction that they would normally manage and deal with. Now it almost happens without warning, without control. It can lead to relationship concerns, whether that be relationships with coworkers or relationships at home. There can be stress. I mentioned earlier loss of pleasure in personal life. Maybe this is the person who goes home and just has no energy to care. They get home and they are it's hard even to ask or pay attention to, you know, what did you do today? How did your job go? What did you learn in school today? It's just, there's not a lot of compassion or energy left for being involved. Insomnia or disturbed sleep. And the other side of it is fatigue. Maybe a person who is just wiped out all the time and really feels like they need a lot more sleep. So those are some of the red flags or warning signs that a person might be dealing with compassion fatigue. I'm sure there are more, but these are some of the ones that I tend to hear the most. And again, these can also be signs of burnout, signs of the job being so stressful that it starts to take a toll on the person. So I invite you to think about, what are your personal warning signs? What things let you know that maybe you're kind of feeling like your, I don't know, pressure is beginning to build. And we'll talk about some more of those here in a moment, but that the pressure is really beginning to build and something needs to happen. I'm also going to think about something else here. It just dawned on me as I'm talking about this, that I think the warning signs come out maybe in 4 different areas. And as I look at this, there can be the physical areas. Some people have physical signs that they're feeling overwhelmed. This may be the person who has the headaches. They get these just nonstop headaches, or tense muscles that lead to headaches, or maybe the fluttering eyelid or the fluttering muscle somewhere. Those physical signs can be one of the signs. These can come out behaviorally. This is the person who maybe is struggling with some behaviors. Perhaps they're not exercising. They used to exercise, but they don't do that as much anymore. Or they're finding, again, with sleep, that they need to sleep more, or they can't sleep. So there's some behavioral signs. Some people really find that the behavioral areas where they need to pay attention to. There can be mental, cognitive type signs, the difficulty concentrating, making mistakes, for example. Some people find that their thinking is off. And then, of course, the emotional warning signs, the anxiety, the depression, the reacting emotionally to a situation where normally they would take a few moments, think about what they want to say, and then approach the concern. So I think about that, the warning signs coming out in those four areas: the physical, body signs, the behavioral, the actions, the mental or cognitive, and the emotional or feeling. And I have also found over the years in talking with people that people tend to have one area that where the warning signs play the most, or show up the most, maybe play out the most. Um, I'll be honest, mine tend to be physical. When I start noticing certain things that are physical, that I know I'm overwhelmed. Something's going on. I mentioned the fluttering eyelid. That for me is my warning sign that I'll get the little fluttering thing going on here. And I'm afraid I'm doing this weird winking at people or whatever. But the reality is I'm not, no one can see it, but I can feel that little muscle just twitching. So again, being aware of your own body, how you're reacting, how you're feeling, and kind of identifying your own warning sign, I think is really important. Not seeing anything popping up on chat, so I'll continue on. So I like to say sustainable care begins with you, that we have to take care of ourselves. No one's going to do it for us. So what are some things here that might help with sustainable care? And I'll come to some real specific things here after this, but I think ultimately we have to be kind to ourselves. We have to give ourselves breaks, cut ourselves a little bit of slack, as they say. I really believe we are our own harshest critic. We are harder on ourselves than we are on anybody else. And I think that it's okay to be kind to yourself, as maybe you'd forgive someone else or let something go if someone else did it. But continuing to practice that with yourself, I think is a good idea. Enhance your awareness with education and experiences. I think sometimes learning, like today, just learning about compassion fatigue. Okay, what is it? How might I experience it? Okay, I can be a little bit more aware of what I need to do. And this can be a lot of different areas of our well-being and our health, but just continuing to learn and learn from our experiences. I think accepting where you are on the path at all times. This stuff, it sounds, that's harder to do, or that's easy. That's easy, whatever. Everyone's at a different place where they are, whether it be with work, with self-care. You are where you are, and kind of accept that and figuring out, okay, here's where I am. What I want to do, or what can I do to take a step in a different direction, maybe move forward a little bit. What's going to be helpful, but not to say, oh, I should be up here. I think when we say we should be, or use that should word, it implies judgment, and I don't think that's really helpful. Exchange information and feelings with people who can validate you. Sometimes it's nice to talk to some other people who are going through some of the stuff that we're going through, and we realize we're not alone. That just that validation can mean a lot. It doesn't mean that the stress has gone away, that the situation has changed a lot, but we're not the only one feeling it. We're not the only one experiencing it. And I think getting validation from people that you trust, that you know, can be really helpful. Now, I also throw with that the risk there of, it's good to get the validation, but I also think sometimes it can be risky if the validation starts turning into adding stress to each other's lives, and then you end up kind of throwing gas on each other's fire, if I can say it that way. So just reaching out and finding out, okay, what I'm feeling is normal. What I'm experiencing, I am dealing with a lot here, and we are dealing with a lot here. That can really be helpful. Clarifying your personal boundaries where you can. What works for you? What doesn't? again, I think that's that's a tough balancing act for people in the helping professions, people who work with others. Sometimes we have to let people know there's some things I can do and there's some things I can't do. Um, I would give a good example, and I know many of you have worked with a student and they start talking about some personal concerns, and you really want to help the student and you offer support. But I think most of you also know that if you feel like the student's concerns are heading into an area where maybe the student needs more than some support at that moment, maybe they need to start talking to someone who can maybe be a little more objective, offer them some alternatives, ideas, that it's okay to say, this is beyond what I can do right here. I think you can be better helped by talking to someone who probably has some more expertise in this area, because I want what's best for you. So maybe you invite them, if it's a health issue, maybe you need to talk to one of the doctors at the health center. This is a personal concern. Maybe one of the counselors at the counseling center would be helpful. Maybe someone over in financial aid could really answer those questions. So I think clarifying your boundaries and helping the person figure out how they go get that help and information, I think is really, really important. Express your needs verbally. If you're needing something, I think if you're in a place where you can, let somebody know that. Say, I need some help with this, or I'm confused here, or I don't know where to go with something. I know some of you are maybe more isolated, maybe in an office by yourself. Fortunately, if you're in an office with some other people, sometimes it's nice to catch some other people. I know our office is here. I can go down the hall and say, I got a situation here. I need some help. I'm struggling. I will go ask for some assistance, or I need to talk about something that's going on. That express your needs to ask for help is good. If possible, take positive action, change your environment. Is there anything you can do that's going to make the workplace feel better, work better for you? And it may be simple things from your office itself to, is there something that can be changed in how some things are done? Again, it's hard to make big changes. I get that, but maybe there's some small changes that will make things work more smoothly. And finally, creating that network of support. So again, who are those people you can turn to? Maybe it's office mates, maybe it's a group of people who get together, that sometimes I've seen different faculty members get together, and they're not even from the same department. They just get together and talk about concerns, talk about what's going on. It's nice to have that support, but figuring out where you're going to get that support. And maybe it's off campus. Maybe there's some things that are going on. You just need that support off campus as well, through some organization, church, wherever. But finding that network of support, I think, is really important. So I think what's really important is, you got to figure out a self-care toolbox and use it every day. So what are 10 things you can do in 5 minutes or less that can support you in practicing self-care? So this is where I kind of want to say, okay, what can you do? What are some things you can try? Here's a great little toolbox, self-care toolbox. So what do you have in it? So here's some different ideas, some specific action steps. So if you see something here you like, jot it down. If it's something you can implement, even if it's one thing, try it, see if it helps. Make a date with yourself. Take some time for you to take care of you. And it's okay to put that on your schedule. Maybe you just need to say, I need some time alone. I need, maybe I need some time with a partner or a spouse or a coworker, but maybe you just need some time alone. Every so often, I will come home and, I say, like, okay, tonight I've got to go out on a walk by myself for about 30 minutes. I just need that time alone. I kind of got that built in, that I need that time for myself. So maybe there's an action step. Praise yourself when you do something awesome. Praise yourself when you do something good. Praise yourself if you tried and it didn't go well. I think praise yourself that, everything doesn't go perfectly or awesome the first time we do it. As much as I never liked it that phrase of you learn more from your mistakes than you do from your successes. I believe it's true. Um, and you know what? Again, you know, if you make an effort, that's good. You tried something new. You tried something different. And if it works out well, celebrate it. It's okay to say, you know, well done, self. Unplug. I've seen a lot more of this in the last year or year and a half in particular. People will get on a social media site and say, I'm going off for a month. You know, if you need to contact me, you know, through, you know, a phone call or whatever, but they'll unplug from Facebook or Twitter or whatever social media they're using. But sometimes you just need to unplug. Again, a person can feel overwhelmed. I think social media is overwhelming. Um, there's a lot there, and if people are trying to keep up with everything or keep up with all that's going on news stations or whatever, sometimes we just need to unplug for a little while or limit our time. Um, Journal. Some people like to journal. Some people like to write. Um, so maybe, you know, a couple times a week to write down what's going on. Um, Something I invite students to do once in a while with the journaling assignment is to kind of make it a little bit more focused. That I'll tell students, write down, you know, in a few sentences what's going on twice a week. Just write down what's going on. And then on the sheet of paper, put a line down the middle of it. And I encourage people to still write this by hand because I think there's something about writing it and reading your own handwriting to this that I think is really beneficial. But I ask people to think about what kind of things have they been um, feeling in the last couple of days? What kind of things have they been thinking in the last couple of days? What kind of things have they been doing in the last couple of days? So kind of that thinking, feeling, doing. And again, keep it real brief. And then I also say on the other side of the paper, in 6 months, what kind of things do you want to be feeling, thinking, and doing? So like, where are you going? I really believe that that can be an effective journaling technique is figuring out, okay, here's kind of what I'm writing about, but doing a quick assessment of where am I and where do I want to be going? It's hard to go somewhere if you don't know where you're heading. So I invite people to use that kind of a journaling activity. Write out some thoughts, feelings, whatever you need, and then you know, thoughts, feelings, behaviors now and in the future. 6 months is usually pretty good. Some people like to meditate. Some people like to take some time and meditate, and I'll talk a little bit more about that one a little bit here in a moment. But taking some time just to contemplate, to think about things. Maybe some people do some. I'll talk about mindfulness activities, or maybe some physical yoga. There's a lot of different types of yoga. Trying to think a friend who, oh yeah, she had broken a bone in her leg. So it's healing, it's mending well, but she's still not quite up to par, up to where she wants to be. So she's doing chair yoga. She's still doing some time, but it's also a way to clear her mind and focus on herself and her health. Some people love to take a class for fun, something that feeds your soul. I don't know, maybe some of you have seen or heard Great Courses. It's a series you can order on different topics. They're really interesting, very interesting topics. I saw one recently on camping and hiking in the back country. It's basically what, about a 12, 16 session course. It's online. And she just talks about, you know, what do you need to do if you're in the backcountry? How do you navigate storms? How do you find your way using maps? It was just really interesting. And it was for fun. I just wanted to take this class, order this DVD set and this little study book and did it for fun. There's one called Great State Parks around the country. That's an interesting one. So again, something that's fun. Maybe a formal class and maybe something very informal. Some people find they just need to take a quick nap. You know, once in a while to kind of close your eyes and a quick nap, whether it be in the office, maybe over the noon hour after lunch, setting an alarm on the phone. I'm not into nap roulette where you just go to sleep and see, oh, whenever I wake up, I guess we'll see what happens. So I may give myself a short nap, but that can be a way to recharge and take care of yourself. Eat something you enjoy once in a while. I think a little treat here and there can be a good thing. This can be a nice one. And again, I invite students to think about this one. Sometimes just take a long bath or a shower, just not to get cleaned up because you have to go somewhere, but maybe at the end of the day, just to unwind and relax. It's good to pamper yourself a little bit. And it can kind of help, again, the person just kind of calm down, unwind, take care of themselves. Here's one I probably should do. Well, see, there I am shooting again. It would be nice if I did this one a little bit more. Mini declutter. Uh, I gotta tell you though, when I do take some time, usually during breaks or the beginning, end of a semester, I'll declutter some stuff off my desktop and I feel better. There's just something about getting rid of that stacks of stuff I don't need. And there tends to be a lot of stuff that, oh, I think I'm going to need this. And then I haven't seen it, looked at it, whatever, for 6 months or a year. And I come across it and like, do I really need this anymore? So a little mini declutters, whether it be at home or in the office, sometimes can make a big difference. Help someone or do a random act of kindness. Just something simple and nice. One I like to do is once in a while when I'm driving home, um, you may have seen this, you're going down, whatever it is, Glenstone or National, you're kind of, stopped waiting for that light to change way ahead of you on Battlefield or Sunshine or Chestnut Expressway, and someone's on a side road really hoping to get in. And sometimes I'll just stop before the intersection, making sure no one's barreling toward me from behind, and let the person out. And it's most people will wave and kind of do the thank you thing, and it just feels good. It's like, okay, yeah, okay, I delayed myself getting home by what, maybe 15, 30 seconds. But it lets out other people, just that random act of kindness sometimes feels really nice. Run or walk for a few minutes. There are several people here in the office that do this over the lunch hour. They'll have lunch and then get out and go for a walk for 15, 20 minutes. I think a person walks on average about 2 to 4 miles an hour, depending on the person. So if a person goes out for, let's say 20 minutes, so I can in about 20 minutes get about a mile walk in. If I go out of the health center down toward Carrington, over toward Strong, back up by Hammonds and Hutchins and back to the building. If it's a nice day, it's nice to get out. The walk seems like it makes a difference. I have a little bit more energy, a little bit more focus. And sometimes it's just nice to see students in a different setting. And that can sure be helpful to get out and walk. Some people like running, never liked it. I'll be honest, never cared for it, but the walk can sure be good. And sometimes, again, a nice break during the day. I know we all want to get caught up on things, but sometimes, I don't know, if I work on stuff too much, I find I'm not being productive. And sometimes just literally walking, getting away from it for a while can be helpful. A pet, I think, can be a great thing. If you've got a pet, when you get home, just petting the pet, touching the pet. We just got a new dog Saturday, a rescue. And boy, it's been great. It's been fun. Although today the challenge started because it's been about 3 days. And that initial fear and uncertainty is giving way to testing the boundaries. And she is starting to test the boundaries. She's about 5. So still, she's got to test it. I know this is part of the next phase of her fitting in, figuring out her place and feeling comfortable. And yet when I sit down, she wants to be right on my lap. And boy, that feels good. Little dog, touch the pet can be good. Dog, cat, whatever. Spend time with real friends and other people who lift you up. I think right there, the key in that is people who lift you up, people who help you feel better, who give you energy. Hopefully you all can identify those people in your life. So here's several things that might be helpful. Maybe there's 1 or 2 on there that you can try. If there's more, try them. And I'll be honest, sometimes the Going for a walk can be really helpful, but maybe one day it isn't. And I'm just going to have to, oh, what am I going to do? I'm going to have to hang in there when I get home, play with the dog now. Or maybe I just need to write down some things that are going on, think about that. Or maybe that's my first go-to. And then the walk may be the second go-to, whatever. All right. One other thing I said I'd talk about it for just a moment is mindfulness. That's another really helpful tool. And I know a lot of people have probably heard this word, but it really is a state of, of active opening attention on the present. So really focusing on here's where I am and what's going on right now. When you're mindful, you observe your thoughts and feelings from a distance without judging them as good or bad. It's just kind of almost stepping back and just paying attention to, okay, what's going on? What am I thinking about right now? How am I feeling right now? There's no judgment with this. This is just how you're feeling. This is what you're thinking. And just being aware kind of what's going on inside of you at that moment. It's kind of also the idea, instead of letting life pass you by, mindfulness means living in the moment and acknowledging what you're experiencing. I think about this of just being aware again of where you are. And this is going to sound maybe a little different or interesting, but I think of a lot of things going in a circle, okay? And I have to be real present with where I am, because when things are going really good, I try to enjoy those moments. When things are at the top of the circle and they're going really good, I try to pause for a moment and say, this is nice. I'm feeling calm. I'm enjoying this moment. Maybe I'm on a trip and I'm at a national park and I'm just looking around and go, this is wonderful to be able to see this. Or maybe I'm looking at the dog on my lap, looks so content. And I think that is nice to see that content look on an animal's face, especially a rescue animal's face. Now, I also know things are going to become more challenging. And when things are tough and they're at the bottom of the circle, for example, I also just aware that this is challenging. This is really stressful right now. I know this isn't going to last forever. This is just where I am right now. And that's okay. I'm going to get out of this. Nothing ever lasts forever. And when things start to get better, I'm just real mindful of, you know what, things are going real good right now. I'm going to enjoy this moment, because the cycle goes on in our lives. So again, I think being aware of what you're thinking and feeling and just being in that moment can be good, because we can be distracted by a lot of other things. I also would invite people, if you're going to practice this, just kind of pausing, getting quiet and comfortable, and paying attention to what you're feeling, what your thoughts are, and try to clear yourself of your thoughts. Work toward that, and do this when things are going well. Start practicing there, because I think it's a lot easier than trying this when you're feeling really overwhelmed. You want to have some successful experiences. But I also find that too, when you're feeling maybe overwhelmed, if you get more and more confident and skilled in being mindful, that it kind of helps you step back and realize, okay, this is what I'm going through. I can do this. This is not, this is the stuff I'm going to deal with. It will move on beyond this. I don't have to stay in this moment, and will not stay in this moment forever. So in other words, to put it another way, it's focusing on one thing at a time, being aware of your emotions and acknowledging that the emotions won't last forever, and staying present and in the moment. Again, it sounds real easy. And I got to tell you, I have to work at this one a lot. This is really more challenging than it sounds. Being in the moment, I really, be in the here and now. There's maybe the simplest way to say it, be in the here and now. Be here now. I like this cartoon, talking about just having got a dog. Sometimes I know I'm like this. I'm going for a walk and man, I'm thinking of everything. I've got a song running through my head. I'm thinking about, oh, bills I got to pay when I get home. Oh, I got to go do this. I got to take care of that. No, something broke. And the reality is the dog's probably walking next to me and just happy to be on a walk with me. And in fact, the dog might be picturing the person and themselves in that picture too. They're just enjoying the moment. It always amazes me. Dogs just seem like they're just in the moment. So I think, working toward being aware of All that other stuff is there. It will be there. It doesn't have to be paid attention to right now, being in the moment. Or I like this one too. And studies show that what makes people happy has less to do with what they're doing. It has more to do whether their attention is fully being present in the moment, which I find really interesting, that if we're really there with what we're doing, that has more impact on happiness than actually doing the activity, if you're really there and in the moment. Maybe some of you have experienced that if you have a child or a grandchild and you're just there in the moment. The kid is really, playing with something. You're playing a game with them or playing pretend. When you're there in that moment, there's something fun and enjoyable about that. And then I like this one too. In case of emergency, break glass. So you're trying to, be very mindful and meditative. And today I will live in the moment. And, unless the moment's really unpleasant, in which case I'll eat a cookie. So I guess, there's the alternative if need be, treat yourself. So I put that one up as a bit of a punch at some humor there. So I want to see if there are any questions. Does anyone have any questions? I see some chat stuff from some people, and I don't know if everyone saw those, but I'll leave my phone in the car when I go to get coffee. A great way to unplug for even a few minutes. Hey, that's true. I like that idea. That's a great one. Just to disconnect and unplug. Maybe even going for that walk over the noon hour. Don't take your phone. It's so tempting. I see a lot of students looking at their phones when I'm, crossing campus, and enjoy the moment. And thank you for the shout out from the person who said yay for rescue pets. So I appreciate that. Excuse me. Any thoughts or ideas for support team members who are frontline care providers? Support team members. The person who wrote that, can you be a little more specific, perhaps? If there's something else you're thinking of there, I'm trying to think of support team members who are frontline. I think just acknowledging if someone is on the front team, maybe it's someone you care about. Excuse me, the coughing is starting. Just acknowledging that this is challenging. Maybe you don't even know. You can only imagine how challenging something is that they're dealing with. Talked to a young woman some time ago who talked about the first person she had to take to the morgue who died of COVID, and just how tough that was for her. And, again, just trying to let her know that, again, I don't know what that's like, but I can only imagine how difficult that had to be and how many things that maybe that brought up for her. So just acknowledging the struggles, perhaps that could be good. I have team members who are PhDs and hoping you'll share ideas of how to support and encourage them as their frontline caregivers for our students. I think, I guess too, I would invite people to think about, is there anything here you could share with them that they could do for themselves? To ask people, how are you going to take care of you? Being the counselor type, I sometimes ask students that. I see them really trying to help somebody else and really trying to take care of a roommate. And I have the conversation about, what are you doing to take care of you in this? Do you need to set some boundaries here? Maybe you can be supportive, but can you do it all realistically? And for some people, that's really hard. So I think maybe using some of the things we talked about here to invite the person to think about what can they do to take care of themselves, to practice self-care. I hope that answers that question. What are some quick self-care ideas we can do while we are at work? I talked about a few of those, I hope. Sometimes after I get done with a client, I know I've got 5 minutes till the next client, and I will purposely just do nothing. I will not search, scroll through the internet. I will not go open the door. I will give myself 5 minutes to just sit quietly and just do nothing. I also have some songs I really like. Once in a while, I'll play one on the computer. Just maybe that's something that is kind of fun, uplifting, whatever. So again, you have 5 minutes or so, something like that can be a good activity. Um, Again, hopefully there's something in those lists that might be, might be helpful. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing here. Go back where maybe I can see some of these comments a little easier. That's a tough one. How do you encourage supervisors and administrators to encourage us to take time off for self-care? That's a hard one. And I know different supervisors, different administrators. Some are very open to that, some aren't. And, I wish I had an easy answer for that one. I don't. But perhaps, figuring out again, how do you do some of that maybe over your noon hour if you can, talk to the supervisor, and maybe it's going to be some of those 5-minute self-care moments. Just say, I'm overwhelmed. I need some moments here to collect my thoughts, to take care of myself. But that's a hard one. I think you can always ask. I guess you don't know until you ask. How can we support coworkers experiencing compassion fatigue? Where's the line between helping to shift someone's perspective and contributing to a toxic positivity in the bias in the workplace? That's a good question. I think if you're seeing some of those red flags in a person, maybe to invite them to, I see some stuff going on here. Whenever I have to confront someone, I try to keep it as behavioral as possible. Here's what I'm noticing. Here's what I'm seeing. I've noticed that you seem more tired, more drained. I don't know. There seems something different. Have you noticed it, or is it just me? I kind of put it out there and see what the person says, and then talk about maybe there's something going on here. Would it be good to talk to someone about that, perhaps? Toxic positivity. Yeah, I think you also don't want to go to everyone's got to be positive. Everyone's got to be upbeat all the time, and I'm not saying that. I think that can be just as toxic of trying to paste on everything's happy, everything's positive all the time thing that can actually help a person feel even more overwhelmed. Where is that line? Good question. I think hopefully most people will see it or find or notice it when they get near it. This may be poor customer service. I sometimes do not take someone in for an appointment in immediately when they arrive 10 to 15 minutes early. I'm the same way. I support you on that one. That back. Well, even with Zoom, someone comes into a Zoom meeting 15 minutes before our time to meet. I try to really hold to the time to meet. I need that time before I meet with the next person. If the appointment is at 1 o'clock, I'm not necessarily going to end my lunch hour at 12:45 because they happen to be there. So I think taking care of yourself is okay, and I don't think that's poor customer service. I'd rather see someone take care of themselves and be have energy and be focused and ready to go when they're supposed to meet. Take that time to refocus and breathe. That's my belief. Shout out to a great supervisor. Again, thank you. A couple nice comments. I appreciate that. Thank you. Then I wondering about fact that both compassion fatigue and burnout are not necessarily individual problems, can be solved, improved substantially by more individual self-care. How might we balance reasonable self-care strategies without making it seem like it's an isolated individual problem? I think, again, talking with other people, working with other people who maybe are experiencing the same thing. We do that here in the counseling center where we all kind of just acknowledge this is hard, this is exhausting, this is draining. And, what do we need to do? Once in a while, again, we have a little bit bigger office, so sometimes I might be doing better today and I say, you know what, I can take this call I can handle this today for you. I'll give you a little bit of room. That's a little harder if you're a one-person office, I know that, but I don't think it is necessarily an individual isolated problem, but I do think there are ways you can talk to other people. Maybe it's outside of your office, but finding other people who kind of get it and realizing you're not alone, I think is so important. Any other thoughts or questions at this point? We're at about 12:53, so any other things? Going once, going twice, done. Um, Hey, I want to appreciate all of you for listening. I hope there's something helpful here. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to hear some thoughts and ideas. And again, if there's a thing or two that you can practice, great. Main thing, take care of yourself. You're not alone in this. I think we're all feeling it. This past, I talk to students, I just say, this is the most unusual year and a half in all the years I've been in higher education, in all the years I've been alive. This has been the most unusual year and a half I've ever experienced. So I can only imagine what some of you are dealing with, no matter what you're doing. So again, to keep taking care of yourselves. And thank you for being here today. Ross, thank you for inviting me in. I sincerely appreciate it too.
Thank you, Doug. You can see there are a lot of people commenting on the chat that are very thankful for the information that you provided today. And I'm one of them as well. This was really meaningful. And I think it's important for us as individuals to think about our self-care and as administrators to think about how we can make sure that we're supporting our frontline workers at Missouri State University who are hearing these stories and working with our students and, suffering from that compassion fatigue. So I think it was important information for a wide audience.
All right. Thank you again.
Yeah, thanks, Doug. So as a reminder, the advisor forum today has been recorded and it will be posted on the Most State Advising YouTube channel. So if you found this information to be beneficial, please share with others in your departments and areas and encourage them to watch it. Thank you all for being here today. Good luck with all your advising sessions that are going to be coming up, that are currently happening, but also the ones coming up in the future weeks. And I look forward to reconnecting with many of you via Zoom in early December. So take care of each other, take care of yourself, and take care of the students that we enjoy working with. Have a great day.